In sports, you will often see a team have a great year, win a Super Bowl or World Series, and then the following year they don't seem to be nearly as good. Sometimes key players leave, or maybe they hire a new coach for some reason, and in this, a team can lose its identity, and the fans become divided on the direction of the team, or who their favorite players are, or if a coach is doing a good or bad job. They will reminisce about the good old days of when times were better and the team was fun to watch, and even sometimes watch replays of older teams just to remember the good times. I think this is the state of Battlefield and its community currently, and I'll explain a bit more, but first, be sure to like the video if you enjoy it, as it really helps the channel grow, and if you really enjoy this type of content, then be sure to subscribe as well. Lastly, let me know what you think the best Battlefield is and why down below. I'm very interested to hear the replies. Battlefield 1 was and still is a great game almost 4 years after it launched in late 2016. The incredible first trailer and the thirst from the FPS community for a shooter that wasn't full of futuristic jetpacks and advanced movement stuff was a breath of fresh air. Not to mention, it was a never-before-seen setting. The brutality of the Great War was something to behold on the Frostbite engine, and people loved the gritty nature of it because it made the setting feel authentic. Not accurate, but authentic, and I'll dive deeper into that difference a little later. By 2018, the game had run through its life cycle, and it was time for a new game, and we all know how that has gone. BF5 has left fans divided at every turn, with seemingly no identity as it ebbs and flows between hardcore shooter, casual shooter, or somewhere in between. The instability of the game is not only literal in its performance, but metaphorical in the decisions made for its future. But this isn't about Battlefield 5, so let's move on. I titled this video the way that I did because I think BF1 is the flagship game still. It is the most stable and arguably the most fun Battlefield experience available right now. Not that games like BF3 and BF4 are not fun, they also hold up really well and are beloved to this day. I just find myself having the most fun in Battlefield 1. The game's operations mode is still fantastic all these years later. Even after numerous matches, the introductory cutscenes are still so touching and make the operation feel more like a battle fought by people, which is a leading focus of BF1. It really emphasizes how it is not machines that are behind these acts of war, but people who have personalities and lives. It's not over the top, but it is subtle and effective at adding an emotional weight to the fighting in each match.
One day, all this will be over. The war to end all wars will be won by one side or the other. The guns will rust, grass will grow, and there'll be nothing left of any of this. The land will heal itself, as everything does in the end. We'll be long gone by then, but maybe not forgotten. History only remembers 1 in 1,000 of us. Then the future will be filled with stories of who we were and what we did, how we lived, how we fought, and how we died. When this is all over and the war is won, they will remember us.
That, combined with the jaw-dropping atmosphere of the game, makes it feel real. It feels authentic, which I think is something BF5 doesn't offer. Now, when I say authentic and not accurate, what does that mean? Most people would argue BF1 is more historically accurate than BF5, but the reality is that neither games are very accurate. What BF1 does have that BF5 doesn't have is authenticity. The uniforms are authentic to the First World War, the maps are authentic to the locations they're named after, and when you start the attack on operations, the attackers do not have a generic battle cry or yell. For example, the British blow whistles and play bagpipes, which is authentic to that faction. The game looks and feels like a World War I game because of those not-so-tiny details. This is as opposed to BF5, at least before the Pacific update, with things like ridiculous cosmetics all the way to Germans parachuting from Allied C-47s, and that just breaks the authentic feel of World War II. BF1 does feature a lot of automatic weapons that saw little or no use in the war, and that is part of where the lack of accuracy comes in. If the game was trying to be accurate, it would be quite boring and depressing as we sat in trenches waiting to get hammered by artillery. The game is definitely mobile in its gameplay, but the almost permanent cinematic look to the game immerses the player in the fighting, and that's when the satisfying gameplay kicks in. The weapons in the game not only sound heavy and punchy, they also serve a distinct purpose. There are still some OP weapons like the Hellriegel and the Automatico, but for the most part there are a lot of good weapons to choose from. The sniping in this game is one of the most satisfying in any game I've ever played, as it introduced the sweet spot mechanic. This means at certain ranges, any hit to the upper body is a one-hit kill with a bolt-action rifle. This means that bolt actions are more viable, thus adding to the authentic feel of the setting, as most soldiers in the First World War were equipped with bolt action rifles. As for vehicles, they are serviceable. There are some artillery truck douchebags that like sitting in the spawn and farming kills, but mostly it's A7V and Mark IV tanks roaming the battlefield. Planes like the attack plane and heavy bomber are powerful against infantry, but the anti-aircraft is powerful enough that they can be countered fairly easily. One of the controversial parts of Battlefield 1 is the Behemoth System. Losing teams are granted a Behemoth to try and get back into the game. These are powerful vehicles that can inflict a lot of damage. Each map can feature a different one, as there are several inside the game, such as the Char 2C Mega Tank, the Armored Train, the Zeppelin, and the Dreadnought battleship. These mega vehicles are very hard to destroy, and they alter the layout of the map when they are destroyed. Another thing that adds to the sandbox of BF1 are the elite classes. These battlefield pickups are specialized soldiers with unique weapons and armor and can be very effective if used correctly. While controversial, I do think it adds to the layers of gameplay and make for some very fun moments as a player. And that is what Battlefield 1 is. It's fun. And that's what it's about. It's supposed to be for fun. It is not a competitive shooter, but overall the game is about having fun in an authentic feeling World War I game with a gorgeous atmosphere and smooth gameplay. The flaws that plague the game still remain. For instance, dying around corners is just something that happens and always will. There's also the infamous RBD or random bullet deviation that can be very annoying in gunfights, but in my opinion this is still the flagship Battlefield title. Coming back to this game has been a joy, and I have been having a blast while playing it, and I honestly can't wait to play more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.